ladies. Hi. I want to thank you for joining us today. My name is Nicole. I am the COO of Renee Montgomery Foundation. And today is going to be the MEM Cyber Event, which is also sponsored by IBM. And I just want to give you a rundown of how this is going to happen today. You're actually being a part of a presentation called Internet of Me, which is protecting your online identity. So basically, we have Mr. Formanek. He's going to be the one presenting today, and he's just going to go over some information just to keep yourself safe online. Real quick, we're going to do a real quick game. This is about Renee herself. I want to see if you guys can figure out which one is the lie. You have A, B, or C. So if you can actually go ahead and just throw it in the chat, or just let us know who thinks A is the truth of the lie. It's Renee is currently part owner and vice president of WNBA Atlanta Dream. We have B, Renee made 15 three-point shots during a game. Or we have C, Renee first started dribbling a basketball when she was 3 years old. So which one do y'all think is the lie? Tell me which one you think is a lie. You can put up fingers. That's a good idea. So A is 1 finger, B is 2 fingers, and C is 3 fingers. So I see one person. Let's see. I see one person for 2 with his B. Anybody else got any guesses? Anybody else have a guess? Nobody else has a guess? You don't have to be shy. Well, since we had one person who said B, she was absolutely correct. She is right. Renee has made 7, but not 15. If she made 15, I think she would have beat out the NBA, everybody as far as that's concerned. I would have loved to have seen it, but 7 was close enough for us, so we got 7. So actually, B is the lie. Renee has been dribbling since she was 3 years old. She could barely walk, but she could dribble, and she is currently the part owner and vice president of the WNBA Atlanta Dream. So that was just to break you in. Nothing else too strenuous. I have next up is Berlita Montgomery, which is Snook. This is Renee's mother. She is a retired professor and academic advisor. She's a career consultant and executive marketer, and she also has a higher education student support specialist. She's going to give us a formal welcome. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Nicole, for that very kind introduction. Good afternoon, ladies. I would like to welcome you to the Internet of Me, sponsored by the Renee Montgomery Foundation and IBM. Now, you don't know how happy it makes me that you have the opportunity to attend this workshop. After advising so many students, it will tell you about the dangers of the internet, both good and bad, but mostly, you need to know this stuff at a young age so that you can protect yourself going into the future. As a former college advisor, you would not believe how many students I encountered that could not get an internship, a scholarship, or even the job they wanted after they graduated from college because of past pictures on the internet, past text on the internet, or past social media post. So please enjoy this workshop today. Pay close attention because everything you learn will be helpful to you in the future. Thank you and have a great day.
All right. So thank you, Snook, for the formal welcome. We appreciate it. And she's absolutely right. Please pay close attention because it does impact your future. As far as you see on the internet and TV every day, that there's some things that people put out there that do come back to get them. So I actually want to switch it over to a video now. Is Renee. She is a 2-time WNBA champion. She's also an all-star and 6th Woman of the Year, and currently the part owner and vice president of the WNBA Atlanta Dream. And she has a couple of words she wants to say to you as well. So I'm going to actually turn it over to Paul, who is our manager, and he's going to show you the video.
What's up, everybody? I'm Renee Montgomery, and I'd like to welcome you into our MEM Cyber Event presented by IBM. The Internet of Me is aimed to help you protect your online identity, which in the social media era, the Zoom, all the ways our lives are going digital is super important. So I want to send a huge shout out and thank you to IBM, but also Wellspring. And individually, I'd like to shout out Alicia Ingram, Vivian Morgan, Aisha O'Neill, Takra West, Nirvana Bentley, Candace Cola Spellers, Aniti Randall, and Kelsey Hull. Thank you all for being here. Moments equal momentum.
All right. So it looks like we're actually up to the event, the actual presentation part of the event. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Formanek. His name is Joe Formanek. He was born in Pennsylvania and raised in New Jersey. Joe has called Georgia his home for 22 years. He started working with computers at the age of 13. He owned his first IT business at 15 and has been with IBM for the past 14 years. He's held several roles with IBM as a platform build engineer, hardware engineer, escalations engineer, project manager, and now serves as a technical trainer for newly hired technical support engineers. He enjoys collecting retro and new video games, as well as spending time with his family and zoo of rescue animals. He has two dogs and 9 cats, which is a small zoo. So I'm going to turn it over to Joe, and he's going to take us from here. And then after that, we'll come back on and we'll talk about what you get for being with us today. Joe, it's on you.
Thank you so much for that kind intro. Just a little embarrassing, but you know, we deal with that. And I want to thank everybody for taking some time out of a Saturday to join us. You know, I know sometimes this can't be we'll try to make it as exciting as we can because this is really important stuff. You know, like we talked about, you know, just earlier for myself, I started online when I was everybody's age, you know, that's attending this. And there were no guidelines, there were no courses like that. It was just pretty much the Wild West. The good news is a lot of the stuff I wrote back then kind of got lost. It's a long time ago. But, you know, it's nowadays that's not the case. What we write and what we do online, it stays with us. You know, it's like our permanent record. So what we want to talk about is just some good ideas so to protect yourself online, protect your identity, because if you don't protect your identity, nobody's going to protect your identity. And it's really important to in this day and age to be vigilant and protect yourself when you're dealing online. Let me try going ahead and sharing my presentation here, and we'll get started. Okay. Let me move this around and let's go with that. Does everybody see my screen? Does that come up okay? Okay.
Yes,
Awesome.
we can.
Okay. So again, you know, we just want to talk about protecting your online identity. It's super important to, you know, be just on top of this. First thing we want to do is got a little video. It's kind of funny, I think. Kind of talks about the difference between, you know, what we do online versus in person. And of course, my dogs start barking when we start talking about this. So it's the joys of working from home. Basically what the gentleman's going through is he's going through and he's talking to folks, and just like we do online, like he's saying, I only have so many friends, you have this many friends because you got that listed. I would like to write on your wall, and he's actually asking to write on people's walls, and you know, going up and poking people like we used to do on Facebook and everything else. Just it's a different world if you try to do what you do online in real life, but at the same time, everything's tied together. Our online lives and our personal lives outside of being on the internet, they're intertwined at this point. So you just have to be really, careful about, what you're doing, how you go ahead and present things to people, and actually go ahead and, you know, you like if you were on on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, you follow people, but if you were following people in real life, somebody would probably call the police on you because you're stalking them at that point. It's not healthy. So what we ultimately want to talk about is just how to protect your personal data, protect your digital reputation, and just give the best view of yourself that you can when you are actually online. So the first thing we want to talk about is my husky talking to everybody, because she's quiet all the time. She's been quiet all day, and now she's talking now. But the first question is: has anybody ever actually been hacked? Or how do you know anybody that's been hacked? I myself, I've been fortunate that I haven't had any bad breaches or anything else like that. But even though I work in this industry, for a living, and I'm probably, more vigilant and, more careful about it than other people, even if you do everything right, a site that you go to can be hacked and your information can go ahead and be stolen from there. So not only do you have to be wary about protecting yourself and everything that you're doing online, with your passwords and your phones and your tablets and your computers, whatever you're using to go ahead and get online. Even if you do everything right, you can still get hacked. So you have to make sure you do all your protections, because if you don't want it to make it easy for somebody to go ahead and actually, hack you, because of, again, this is your permanent, record online. It's something that it's going to stick with you for a long time. And like, Nicole had referred to earlier, I mean, you see even famous people, that have gone ahead and tweeted things in the past, like 10 years ago, and it come back to them. It sticks with us. So again, our objective here is to try to make it so it's not so easy, and that you're just really, conscious of everything that's going on online, and how you go about your business. Um, so one thing, kind of look at here, like if you look into movies and everything, the hacker's kind of the, guy in his parents' basement, just surrounded by Doritos and Mountain Dew, and, completely antisocial and just kind of odd. They always have this kind of, specific look that they kind of portray in Hollywood and everything else. But quite honestly, they don't, it's not like that anymore. Hacking has become big business. There are companies, well, I say companies, but groups of people that are organized in offices, and all they're doing day in and day out is trying to get your data from you. And they're wearing suits, they're working 9 to 5. They're not hiding underground at all. And why do you think that is? And you could go ahead and put it in the chat. Why would hacking go ahead and turn from kind of this underground to, I don't want to say it's a mainstream thing, but followed this way? Don't be shy, and go ahead and put it in the chat. It's not even so much that it's easy on the internet to do it. The reason why is money. I mean, it is big business at this point. It's not so much. I mean, there were people, and there are people that will just go ahead and hack just to hack. That there are hackers that we consider that are on the good team. We have at IBM, we have a team that where people will come in and will try to hack the customers' networks. So you have those sorts of hackers out there, but you have a bunch of people that are just doing it because there's huge money in it. The cost of it is tremendous. And I mean, when you look at it there, I mean, the actual cost of cybercrime for us, throughout the world, um, it's even more than $1 billion. They actually estimate that it's $445 billion is being made by hackers and cybercrime every year. I mean, that's just mind blowing to think about. I mean, that's even more than like the illegal drug trade. I mean, this is huge business, and we're all at risk. I mean, even though nobody's going to make that off of me, or probably as far as that goes, but it a little bit adds up. And you see it, day in and day out, all the time. And yeah, I mean, everybody had some great answers there because of, I mean, again, gain more profit. It's easier online because of everything's connected online. I carry a phone with me. My phone has, contact information for all my loved ones. It's got, my banking information, all my emails. It's got text messages. I mean, it has my whole world is in my front pocket, and it makes it so easy and so for somebody to go ahead and come in and you know attack you and get that information from you. So again, this is all about trying to be as on top of it as possible. I mean, when we look at this, I mean, you know, all of us, are probably, fall into these categories here. I mean, we've all posted trivial information on the internet, and it could be as simple as what we had for breakfast. But at the same time, if we're giving that information, sometimes we're given like, hey, I went to Waffle House for breakfast. Well, somebody knows where I'm located, where I've been. We all pretty much have social media accounts. I mean, they've come in and they're tied into our lives, constantly. So, we have Instagram, we have Snapchat, we have TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp. We have all these things, and they all have our personal information on there. And one thing that I will say is a lot of folks are not very conscious of there are privacy settings that we have. We can limit, who we share things to. We can limit what's shared. And it being familiar with each of these individual apps that we're using and what privacy settings are available to us are really key to help protecting ourselves when we're online. Because if you know maybe I want to share I made something for dinner with my family and friends on Facebook, but I don't want somebody else to know that what I'm doing. Or if I'm looking at if somebody bought a new car or they're looking for a new house, or any of that information, it can come back, and somebody can use that against you. So I mean, when you factor that in, and then on top of it is, who here actually thinks they have strong enough passwords to withstand hacking? Um, you know, a lot of us, we do. I mean, we'll use things that are personal to us. We'll use things that we think that nobody else will figure out. But there's so many means that they can go ahead and figure out, what's going on, and figure out our passwords. Especially if we start to use, personal information, because of it could just be a matter of, somebody knowing you, somebody knowing the name of your dog, somebody knowing the name of your cat, the street you grew up on, your family members' names, your favorite color or whatever. There are ways that people can get this information out of you, and it will really surprise you at how easy it is. And a lot of times we just offer it up. Um, just unwillingly. I mean, there's one thing that I always point out to folks. You'll see things like on Facebook where, they'll just be like these little memes they'll put up, and there'll be little games like, oh, well, the name of your first child is, what color your shirt and what street you grew up on. Well, somebody might think, oh, that's just fun. I can go ahead and give that answer. But then you've just given away information that could be used against you. That's private information, and it's not something, it doesn't look nefarious, it doesn't look like threatening, and you just think you're playing a game, but at the same time you're giving up information that can be used to determine you know how to get in and how to take your identity and how to go ahead and abuse those privileges that they have. So we have personal data, and personal data, that's things, your name, your address, your phone number. You have your personal data with that. What would be some things that could fall, other things that could fall under personal data? We all have social security numbers. We have any of our personal details, any of our relatives, any of our friends, our hobbies, our interests, things about our schooling, any awards we got, our schedule. I mean, people don't think of that sort of stuff, like Renee's saying in there, our mother's maiden name, bank card information. These are all things that we need to protect. That's our own thing. Just because of, again, you might not think, you got to stop thinking about it as these are your friends, because if you do have your group of friends, you do have your group of close people that you're going to share information with, but other people can get that data, and it can be really challenging, if once they do, I mean, once somebody can go ahead and hack you, to go ahead and fix that is a lot of work. It's way more work than you would ever expect, and some people's lives have been ruined by that. They either financially or with their interpersonal relationships, or any sort of thing. I mean, somebody can go ahead and take your picture, just your profile picture or things like that, um, and they can go ahead and create a fake identity. I see it I see it a lot myself with like older family members. Actually, my father's aunt, who's, God bless her, she's 82 years old, and she's online and she's on Facebook all the time and everything else. But I'll say probably about once a week, I see a new account come up, try messaging me as her. They've stolen her picture. They've done this, and no matter, even though she's pretty with it and she's pretty cognizant about things as far as protecting herself, she's still an easier target than somebody that is up on everything, that does have go ahead and protect all that information. you know so that comes into play too. um so this is just kind of talking about, this is one thing that you can do. And I do it. I look up things about myself, to see what's out there. So whenever you have a chance, take a chance and Google yourself, see what comes up for you. I did it, myself right before we started, and I'm pretty, you know, pretty private online. I try to separate things. I have my Facebook settings. I only share things with my family members and stuff. But like the first thing that comes up when you Google me is my LinkedIn profile. And I mean, you see a picture of me, you see where I work right off the bat. I mean, that happens. That information's out there. So you just need to make sure that you're doing everything that you can to protect that private data as much as possible. As somebody that's in the industry, and LinkedIn's used for both at IBM and other companies and things like that. And I talk to people that I've worked with in the past and have been able to connect with other folks that are in the industry and stuff like that. I'm not giving out a ton of information, but even just that, just for somebody that works in the industry, you can find out a lot of details about people. And yeah, I mean, just take some time and look up for yourself, or look up, you can look up Renee and see all the information that you can find on her online. And you'll be surprised about the amount of things that are just readily available that anybody could just Google. And from there, it's, for most of us, it shouldn't be too big of a deal. But other folks, they try to keep their lives private, and try to go ahead and you know keep everything clean as possible. And it's out there. This is another thing that we factor into it. So it's not even just a matter of what you're sharing online, but it's also even just the devices that you're using. I mean, we use phones, we use desktops, tablets, laptops, whatever. Wherever we go online, we're leaving a digital footprint. When you publish things or browse things, you're leaving footprints. And based upon that, this is, you're telling the world about yourself. um that's one thing I tried to explain to people is, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, these don't cost us anything. And the reason why they don't cost us anything is they're buying us, and buying our data, for free. We're willingly giving this information to them, and then they're going to go ahead and turn and sell it to advertisers. And then there's other, you run into the risk of, if something gets hacked, if there's a Facebook hack or an Instagram hack or whatever, all this personal data that we've willingly given to these companies, we've created this digital footprint. They know what I like, they know the pictures I like, they know who I'm talking to. When you're going through and you're surfing online, right now I'm actually in the process personally of buying a new house. So I'm looking at furniture. Well, I go on Facebook, and now all of a sudden all the advertisements I see are for furniture, because of I've left that footprint online. So, not, we have to be wary about, what we're looking at, because all this stuff they build, it builds a profile on you, and they're consuming us at this point versus us consuming them, with these sites. So again, just be really, conscientious, about things. Your Google searches, they save them. I mean, Google's free. How are they a multi-billion dollar company? Is they sell our information. They sell what we're into, what we like. We like the WNBA. That's used for marketing purposes. We like, a certain music artist. We like whatever. you know our footprint it's there, and so not only are we providing all of our personal data, we're also leaving this trail behind. So again, what can actually be what can happen with our data. And again, like I said, when you leave, information behind, you're publishing little bits of information. And most of the time we do it voluntarily. We post a picture to Instagram, that's becomes, something that we do. But at the same time, like all this data, data's being tracked by us. Does anybody actually know the technical term for what we leave behind on any of these websites? Feel free to use the chat. Renee hit it on the head. It's cookies. Basically, you'll see this. You sometimes nowadays you'll see, because this data was used against us, and there are more privacy regulations coming in to help protect us that are coming in from different countries. Actually, the Europe is kind of leading the way with that, where you'll see on some websites you'll go to, and I mean, yeah, Renee, I mean, you're the all-star today. We're going to give you the gold star. You're getting all the right answers. But you'll go to a website and we'll say, hey, this website, we're going to track cookies. Are you okay with that? And that's where it comes into play. Like I was talking about looking at furniture. So when I go to Facebook now, all my ads, everything that comes up to it is about furniture, because that's what I'm doing. And before, when I was looking at houses before we picked one out, I got a lot of information about houses and things like that. You know, and there's another breadcrumb that we leave behind. There's a question why we call it cookies. That's a good question. Why we actually call it cookies, because it's basically bits of information. So I mean, it's going to store information about you. It varies from site to site, but it's actually a small little file that they have on there. Yeah, crumbs. You're basically leaving crumbs behind, and kind of fits together. So with that, they can get information like what you search for on Google. The next thing I was going to talk about is our IP address. Of course, we have our physical address. Everything that's questioned, on the internet, everything that's connected to the internet has an IP address. And the IP address is the actual, address of the computer. And it can find your location. You can go online and it will determine based upon your IP address, a general idea where you're located. So that's why when I go to Google and things like that, and I'm looking for a restaurant, it will show me things that are around where I am, because it's taking my IP address and saying, okay, well, this IP address should be around here in Georgia, and we'll go ahead and show it that way. So your phone has an IP address, your tablet, everything that's connected to it does. And so you know, we can't get around giving the IP address. There are things out there, like VPNs, virtual private networks that people use, that you can connect to it, which basically it's an intermediary. So you connect to this, and from the VPN will go ahead and connect to something else. Like I have to use that for work. I can't go ahead and just connect to the IBM network. I have to connect to the IBM VPN, and then from there I can access it. So there's extra layer of protection there. But you got to figure, we have our IP addresses given out, so we're kind of giving out our general location. Cookies are being stored, so they're getting our search information, what we're like, what we're looking for. Then you factor in our social media presence, so people can get your pictures. We check in the places, we like different places. I mean, somebody could go ahead and take a look at somebody's Facebook profile, and even if they don't list, like me, I don't list my address or where I live on there. But if somebody went through and could go ahead and fortunately, I'm pretty good, I share only privately. But if somebody got into my account, they could take a look and see, okay, well, he likes these restaurants, he likes this band, he likes this, he likes that, so they can go ahead and try to piece together a picture of you that they can use against you. So again, big thing. Hackers are going to use many different methods to get information from you. We've kind of talked about kind of like the underhanded side of things so far, but there's a lot of things that they can do just in talking to you to get information from you. And one thing that we kind of go ahead, and one of the big ways that they get information out of us is what we call phishing. And it happens all the time. I get phishing emails. I probably get 10 of them a day, at least. And there will be somebody, will look like my bank, and they will say, okay, well, there's been a problem, you need to log in, or it will be PayPal, and everything will look really official to it. So we get this thing and kind of this little Dilbert cartoon here. We're talking about phishing there, and they're talking about sending fake banking emails. And you would think this is really simple, but it works. I mean, it works day in and day out. They get this information from people all the time because they can make it look really official, but it's not. They can mirror the website. So I could click on something, it will look legitimate, it will look just like Wells Fargo or whatever bank you use, and it's not. And even it will be so simple as you can click on it and you put in your login and your password, and it does nothing. And you might think to yourself, oh, something's wrong with the website. But instead, what it's done is it's gotten your login and password with something that simple. And it happens thousands and thousands of times a day. And it's successful because if it wasn't successful, then we wouldn't see it. So they're going to repeat it over and over and over again, to go ahead and get that information out of us. Um, you know, uh, Fortunately for myself, I haven't fallen, knock on wood, for any phishing scams. I know people that have, and it's been bad. Where they've had to go ahead and fight with their banks, and to get their money back because of they thought they were, they thought it was legitimate. And it happens, and it's really hard to go ahead and protect. So you have to be very wary of making sure, like, even the websites you go to are the website that you go to. So make sure you look at the actual web address when you're seeing things there. It's really important. You can hover over in your, if you're on your computer, and you can hover over an address and in your email, and it will read out, it will say like paypal.com. But if you hover over it with your mouse, it will go ahead and you'll look at it, it will be some weird random web address. Well, that's somebody trying to fish. um, and yeah, like Lori said, here, they test us at IBM. I mean, we're IBM security, and we'll get emails and they will look really official, and it will say like it's coming from the CIO office, and we need to go ahead and do whatever. And even working in, we're industry professionals, this is what we do for a living. There are still people that will go ahead and it will happen to. So you have to be, very vigilant. You have to question these things, because of, you just have to protect yourself out there. And that's another thing. It's just, if there's one thing you take away from this is, obviously, we want to talk to everybody here, and get you thinking, to protect yourself, but other people too. Like I tried to do that with my parents, I tried to do that with family members, friends. Just, they're the ones that I've seen impacted by it, and I just tried to relay that information to them, that hey, look, you got to be careful with this. I remember my wife, with her mother, her big thing was her, don't click it. Just whatever you do, don't click it. If you got a question, call Joe, and he'll answer it for you. Just don't click on anything. So again, you just gotta be you know protect yourself when you're out there. Like this is an example of an actually a phishing attempt, and I mean, as you can see, it looks very legitimate. It looks like something coming through. Like me, I have an Apple phone, so this looks like something. Hey, my Apple ID was used to sign in. That's going to throw me off because of it makes me think that something's wrong. It's very convincing. And if you just look at it and you just click on that thing, you might think that you're going to confirm your details, change your password or whatever, but you're actually not going to go to Apple. So again, when you're looking at something like that, hover over it, see the actual address. If it comes up and it's actually apple.com and you go there and it's a secure website, then yeah, it could be very legitimate. I mean, I get you know, emails for my Netflix account. That I had one not too long ago that somebody in Hungary had logged into my Netflix account. Of course, my first thought, being an industry, I figured like, okay, this is phishing. But when I went ahead and checked it out, it was legitimate. Somebody had gotten a hold of my password and logged in. So it actually did come from that. So that's one of the other challenges we have is we do have, legitimate emails that come through, and it's being able to sort through the noise, as far as what's actually legitimate and what's not. Again, just you have to be on top of these things, and just protect yourself, because again, nobody else is going to protect you when you're online. This one probably not so much of a big deal for us here, for you girls as you're going through things, because we don't, and even myself, if I get a phone call and it's not from a number I know, I don't answer it. I figure if they need me, they'll leave me a message or they'll send me a text message. But phone phishing is a huge thing, especially for elderly folks and older people, and other folks. I don't want to just say older people, but there are people that just depend on their phone, that are making phone calls all the time, that get phone calls from other sources and things like that. Like my wife, I mean, she talks to a lot of companies all the time. She's that's what she does day in and day out. She's on her phone, so she can't be um like me. She's got to answer the phone, because that's her business. And you know fortunately, she hasn't fallen for things or anything else like that, but it goes ahead, and it happens all the time. You'll see it on the news. You'll see it. There's IRS scams that are on the news, where the IRS, they'll act like they're the IRS. They'll call up, they'll talk to somebody, and it will say, they'll be really legitimate sounding, and people will go ahead and give up their social security number because they think they're talking to the IRS. Whereas the IRS would never call you. They're if you go to the IRS website, they'll say that they themselves won't call you, but a lot of folks don't know that, and it's so easy. I mean, just with one phone call, somebody's life can be practically ruined for that. So it's another thing just to be very wary about that. Yeah, I mean, Candace, yeah, they'll pretend to be somebody's family member to get money or personal information. It happens all the time. And a lot of them, there's other social security scams too that go around. So there's a lot of things. I would say that the phone phishing is kind of, they found their niche market, is for older folks, but it can happen to all of us too if we pick up the phone. So yeah, there are times there are getting better, where I do get a lot of phone calls that will say scam likely, which of course, yeah, I'm not going to pick that up. But my own personal thing is, again, I have my numbers of the people that I know that are going to talk to in my phone, and then anybody that's legitimate, they'll leave me a message or send me a text message as well. Another thing, again, we talked about social media here. attackers are using that, constantly to gain information on you. So again, I mean, it can fall into the same thing even with the phone phishing, because like say, my dad's aunt, she's on there and it has listed out her family members. Well, somebody, like I'm friends with her on Facebook, but I don't really talk to her on the phone. So somebody could go ahead and act like they're me and talk to her because of, she, even though we're not super close, she'd go, okay, well, Joe's calling and everything else, there's something going on, and they could try to get information out of her that way too. So again, you just be wary about your privacy settings and everything else. That's a big key. Because if you want to share with your family, if you want to share with your friends, that's great. I mean, that's one of the beautiful things about social media, is it can be used to bring folks together. I mean, I wouldn't really have quite the relationship with my father's aunt at this point in life. She's 800 miles away in New Jersey and older, and I saw her at holidays and things like that. But the fact that I can talk to her, pretty regularly. So I mean, there are great pluses, and I don't want to just scare everybody from using social media, but it's using social media smartly, that's going to go ahead and save you in the end. Um, Again, your personal data is precious. You do everything you can do to protect it, because of you got to remember, all this information that we put out online, both willingly and unwillingly, it can be used to make a picture of you, one that could be good or one that could be bad too. Things could be used against you, things could be misinterpreted, things of that nature. You can see it, and it happens all the time, and nobody's immune to it. Everybody has to protect their data, just like you would protect, you'd lock the doors to your house, you would lock the doors to your car. You try, if you had something worthwhile, you put it in a safe. If you have a bunch of money, you put it in the bank. You try to protect it. You have to look at your personal data with that same level of attention and vigilance, because of it's just as valuable, if not more valuable, as time goes on. Um, so, I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier. There are things that, the U.S. is pretty open with data privacy. We're not as strict as other countries. There were things that have gone on in Europe to really protect people. And actually, one thing, like, for even things that have changed with the IBM, things that I used to be able to do that I can't do anymore, because of we do business in Europe and we have to follow their privacy regulations. Um, so there are some places that are really, stringent about it, some of them that are not. Again, it comes down to, you have to be your own advocate. You have to be the one looking out for yourself. I can't just say, like, well, this is illegal. Well, that doesn't stop somebody from committing a crime. So you have to, protect yourself when you're on there. So I mean, there are places where you can assume some responsibility for your own data, as much as possible. So there are privacy settings on Facebook and Snapchat and TikTok, and on your mobile phone, and your password. So you just got to do everything in your power to protect what you can protect, and then hope everything else, hope for the best from there. Just make smart choices, do everything that you can do to protect it, and then go from there. Again, keep your personal data to yourself. Your social security number, phone numbers, passwords, date of birth, your mother's maiden name, place of birth, what school you went to. Because even you'll see things where, like, to recover your password, you'll put in, it will have some questions for you. Um, it's something that, you go ahead and, you have to protect it that way. But if you're looking at these things, and they'll say, okay, well, what street did you grow up on? What was your mother's maiden name? What was your best friend growing up? Nothing says that you actually have to put in real information there, for it. You don't have to answer truthfully. You just have to answer with stuff that you can remember. So one thing that, I recommend for folks is, when they do that and they have these things, instead of, putting in your mother's maiden name, go ahead and put in, something that you would remember, that would be associated with it. Other thing that we're pointing out here is when you're looking at your web browser, it will start off with HTTP and then look for that S on the end of it because that means that it's a secure website. It means your data is being encrypted. Uh, it's there were changes where a lot of websites had to go to having a secure environment like that, which again that helps protect the data because basically what's going on is from what you're typing on to the server, it's encrypting that from end to end there. So if somebody's snooping in and listening in and trying to go ahead and track, what's going on with your Wi-Fi or anything else like that, there is a layer of protection that it affords you. So, and especially when you're looking at things like, a bank website or even Facebook, their secure one, Instagram. I mean, any of your major websites, make sure it's HTTPS when you're looking at it, because that's affording you some level of protection for your data as you surf online. Another thing, think before you post, because stuff on the internet never goes away. And I'm a little older, but I remember a couple years ago, I watch a lot of sports, and Herman Edwards, they have rookie symposiums for the NFL players coming in, where veterans and things like that, they'll come in and talk to you, talk to these guys, and the biggest thing he said to them is, "Don't press send." Just think about what you're doing first before you hit send, before you hit submit. And that's stuck in my mind. I mean, whenever I saw this and I was looking over it, that's the first thing I could just hear Herman Edwards in my head saying, "Don't press send," because of, again, you have to be conscious because of, it sticks, it's there, you see it, it comes up later on, and it can impact your ability. I mean, you've seen people get in trouble for things they were posting online where they've lost their jobs. I mean, probably rightfully so for what they posted online, to be honest with you, but at the same time, something that you could go ahead and not think of anything about, could be used against you. So just make sure that you're putting your best self online, that you can, because if you want to make sure that that picture of you is as good as can be painted, because there is a picture of all of us, because we're online. Yeah, like Lori pointed out, employers are checking your social media before they hire you now. They're Googling, they're looking up this information. I mean, and it's hard enough to get a job. It can be very challenging to find a good job. And worst thing that I could think of is something that I wrote, 10 years ago online, preventing me from getting that job, because of, I was young and I was, well, maybe I wasn't so young 10 years ago, but, maybe 20 years ago at this point. But, the idea that that could be held against you, but it can, because of it is a record. They want to find out as much information about you as possible. They're making an investment in you, and they're going to make sure they're making the best investment as possible. Another thing to do to protect yourself is good password hygiene. So don't ever use easy passwords. Don't reuse the same password over and over again. A lot of websites now, you can do two-step verification where you can put in your password and then it will send a text message with a code to your phone that you can go ahead and put on, or it will send you an email. So whenever possible, use that sort of thing. Our safer passwords, they're long, they're complicated, they're random. And one thing that you can even think about is, you don't even have to use a password per se. It can be a passphrase. There, it used to be, before, it was very limited, like when I started, years and years ago online, like most of your passwords were only like 6 digits. Some of them were 4 digits, or 4 characters or whatever. Now, like, my work password has to be over 15 characters. So to go ahead and memorize, a 15 random character thing is difficult, but you can figure out different ways that you could do, sentences, you can do phrases, you can bring in special characters. You know, Again, because of their, even the most difficult password that you think you can have, a hacker can figure it out. They have brute force attacks that are going through and will try thousands upon thousands of combinations, on there to determine it. So you want to make it as difficult as possible. Another thing that we recommend and that I use personally is there's password managers. There's a couple of them out there. Most of them are free of charge. There's like OnePass. I use LastPass myself. That's no way to, you know, just that's for me personally. I don't even use that for my work. But there are password managers out there, and basically what they do is it will create strong and very random passwords for websites, and then you just have to have a memory of your master password at that point. So you have a very difficult password, like mine. It's got it with the face ID with my phone, and then I have a strong password with it. So then I'm just memorizing that, and it's keeping track in a secure vault all my other passwords, and it creates these random ones that are really difficult to find. And they'll even give you ideas and suggestions. They'll let you know, a lot of them will let you know, hey, this website's been hacked. You're still going to want to change your password. It happens, all the time. But yeah, a password manager it's a huge help. It allows you to, create these really secure passwords and memorize your master one, and it helps protect you online. you know so here's just a little fun, we just talk about here, and just write down a password, any password whatsoever, or think of one in your head. That's 6 characters or so. um and then use some letters, numbers, and capitalization. So just think about that for a little bit there. Lori, the fingerprint entry for your phones is fairly safe. It's Apple is really good about protecting their, and then so is Google too with the Android phones. So it's definitely an improvement, even over just a regular password. But I would always recommend, still having a very good secure password with it. Um, yeah, I mean, for this little exercise, just 6 characters, random, whatever. And the question is, how long do you think it would take a hacker to actually crack that password? Uh, and you'd be surprised. No, just save it. Just keep this in mind here. You don't have to put the password in chat again. Don't share your password. That would be a very bad lesson if I said put your password in the chat. But yeah, just have that in mind. But basically, when you look at it there, um, how long is it going to take them to go ahead and figure it out? That's it. 4 seconds. That quick for a 6 character password. Even if you used upper and lower case, even if you put in a exclamation mark or a pound sign or anything else like that, super easy for them to go ahead and figure out. They have the tools to go ahead and do it. So you want to do something complicated, complex, not too complex that you can't memorize it. That's the reason why I recommend the password manager. So you have that one really complex password, um, and then you have that with it, but at the same time, it's going to go ahead and create these ones, and it's going to even I recommend changing your passwords over time. Obviously don't reuse them, but if you go to Facebook, change your password every 3 months, just to be on the safe side, or Instagram or anything else like that. Definitely you want to keep it as fresh as possible, because there are things over time, like I was guilty of reusing passwords before, long time ago. And then, and this was a website that I hadn't accessed in probably 20 years. Well, it got hacked, and I got an email, and the email was just like, look, this is your email address. This is your password. We have this information. You need to send us Bitcoin, or we're going to go ahead and, do this to you. Now, I knew that I tied it to the hack, and I wasn't using that password anymore. But again, that comes into play, and you'll see things like that, and I mean, that would scare most people. Somebody emailed me, and they have my password that I had used in the past, because of a website. It was a forum that I went on 20 years ago that got hacked. um you know Again, another thing is, with mobile phones, they're really prone to loss and theft. And think about all the information that you have on your devices. We have our personal pictures, we have our text messages, our emails, all of our social media accounts, banking information, retirement information. I mean, pretty much everything, every part of my life is on my phone. And a lot of people have really simple security controls enabled, like 4-digit passwords. There's a lot of people, that do like 1 2 3 4 or 0000, just because if they think it's annoying to get into their phone. But it's way more annoying if somebody stole your phone and could get all your data. So you got to take that in mind. Another thing is, be conscious of the applications that you're even downloading. I mean, the applications will tell you what of your personal data it's going to access. I think Apple does. I mean, Apple does a really good job with it on their app store, but I still wouldn't trust everything there. I would still go ahead, and if it's something out of the ordinary, something that may be not so much of a mainstream application, take a look and read. I mean, even the next time you look at, installing an application on your phone, it should, you should have a listing there, and look at all the information that you're going to allow that to have access to. It will have access a lot of times to your camera roll, your location. Do you want it to allow having your location all the time? Like, that's one big thing that they just did with the Apple phones, is they've brought that up, where you can limit, only let this application know where I am, where I'm using that application. I don't think that, the restaurant down the street, or Panda Express needs to know where I am all the time. So I disabled that. So I'm just like, I don't want to give that information to you. We're getting better controls, but it's lagging behind, and it's a constant race. Whenever we come up as, internet security companies and everything else, whenever we come up with a protection, we always have to try to stay ahead of that threat, because of their nonstop worldwide, just going ahead and doing everything they can to hack us all the time. There's countries that are trying to hack the US, that you have to have in there. um and I mean, just think about, like, if your phone, if you don't have a secret password, you're not using the Face ID, you're not using the thumbprint, you're not using that. Think about all that information you just gave to somebody. I mean, not only is it terrible that you lose an expensive cell phone, but even more costly is the amount of your own personal security that you could lose, if that was the case. So again, if you're using, laptops, computers, anything else, whatever you do, your computers, use virus protection, keep it up to date, turn on firewalls, do your updates on your phone. There's constantly security updates that come out. Use Touch ID. Use private networks. That's another thing you can think about. So many places have public Wi-Fi. Well, when you go ahead and you could do everything right on your phone and have all your security features and everything else, but if you decide to go to Starbucks and use their private Wi-Fi, guess what? Everything that you're doing on your phone, you're sending across their network, and somebody could be sitting there intercepting that data. So, be very careful about what networks you connect to, because again, you can do everything right, and just one small slip up can cause a major, major headache, for you. And then, of course, back up your data. Save the stuff that's important to you, because of, you could lose a phone, you could lose this, you could lose that. And I mean, and so much of our lives are just tied to these things. Um, so again, make sure, make the internet work for you. Um, think of it as an opportunity. I mean, I know some of this can kind of sound scary, that you have to be so careful about it. But again, it's a wonderful thing. I mean, just think about just this, what we're doing right now, the ability that, we're spread across, a whole area. We're all on video together and talking about this. That's amazing. The fact that we have this power, for us, and it can be used for such good. But just again, assume responsibility for yourself. Make sure, be careful of who you accept as your friends online. May check to see what they can see, what they can't see. What people that, there are things like, you can go to Facebook and you can look at your view, as it will show you what your Facebook page looks like to somebody that's not your friend. take a look at that and see what data is actually being shown. And then get in there and work with your privacy settings and make sure that you're only sharing what you want to share with who you want to share it with. You know, so at the end of the day, who's going to post, positive and important things online? That's got to be us. We got to do that. We have to take charge of our social media settings. If we have a PC, check to make sure your virus protection is current. And then go ahead and update you and strengthen your passwords. Take this information that we're talking about today to make it work more for you, because of it's, again, you're in charge of it. You're responsible for it. Nobody else is. So do that. Think about what you're sharing online. Think about, all your settings, and going in there and doing these things to help protect yourself. And then tell a friend about it too. Have them look out for it too. I mean, if you can go ahead and, spark that kind of change for people to get them thinking about things, do it. Like Renee's saying, positive stuff. Positive things online, nice comments on pictures, don't bully people online, or and don't be bullied online. I mean, because a lot of times trolls, they're not your friends, but if you're sharing this information out there, that's what they do. They're just out there to abuse people. And again, that's another protection for yourself, for your own sanity. So if you control what you're presenting online, you're being able to control a lot of how people are going to treat you online at the same time. And that's pretty much what I have. Again, I hope that I gave a little insight as to some things to go ahead and help protect yourself online. I hope it make you think a little bit about, just just you have to really value yourself online, because again, you are a something that businesses want to consume. You're something that people are going to review and everything. So just really be careful and use it to your advantage, and do those protections that you can, to just again, it will help you out in the long run. But I thank everybody for taking time out of a Saturday to listen to me talk. I mean, I do this for a living, but they're getting paid to do it. You're doing it voluntarily, so I really thank you. And yeah, it's again, it's been my pleasure, and I hope that I was able to teach you a little something today.
Thank you, Joe. Girls, don't hop off just yet. I have some information I want to give you before we let you go. But Joe, thank you so very much. This was great. I actually appreciate you volunteering, like I said, because you took your Saturday, you taught, like we said, we taught us some new things. You taught some things to us that we didn't know before. And I really do appreciate that. This has been wonderful. I just want to say a couple of things before we hop off. Girls, thank you for being engaging. Thank you for participating. Thank you just for being here today. You guys actually made us laugh. We were laughing. The chat was lit. That's what we want this thing to be about. And also, you asked some good questions and had some good comments as well. Some things for us to think about. What I took away from Joe's entire presentation was, think before you send. That is probably the biggest thing that you can do these days. Emotions run high and fingers run fast. And so before you send, think about who is going to hit and who is going to hit back at, and that'll be you. So I would say think before you send was a great one. Always look for the S as far as to secure a website, because that means if you don't see the S in there, that could be anybody. There could be somebody you was in a cafe, you could be in a public place and they just made a website while you're sitting right there. So look for the S. And also, a new one I've actually heard, and I've never heard this before, practice good password hygiene, which I think is a great one to take away as well, because if, like he said, if it's too easy, or if it's information you've already shared, like if you say online your favorite food is pizza, then don't make your password pizza, because that makes it too easy for them to understand. So I think those were the three big things. Everything was wonderful, but those are the big things I actually took away from it. And I was sitting here learning just like you girls were. I'm going to actually share my screen because I do have something else I wanted to put in to let you know. Girls, I know that, your time is very valuable, and I know that you're going to be moving on. Y'all one day going to be working during this time period or even going to school or college. So the Renee Montgomery Foundation has some contacts. If you're going to get a job and you want a resume consulting, it could be for a job. We don't care what the job is, but if you need like a resume consulting or making your resume pop, make it look good, or if you're trying to get into college and you want a resume that's going to speak to someone who's looking through candidates to go to their college, we have an email here. I'm going to make sure that Ms. Demita has this information as well. But you can send your resumes over to Renee's mother. She has been in college support services for a number of years, and she knows how to make your resumes look really good. And she's willing to do that for you, girls. So we're extending that service out to you. Also, recommendations. If you girls need recommendations for jobs, recommendations for school, we don't care what school it is, anything. It could be cosmetology. You could want to be a mechanic. You could go to a four-year college, an Ivy League, anything you want a recommendation for. Hit me up. Lori right here. She's part of our foundation. She's really good with that as well. She has some information she's going to share with us, and we'll put your resume and we'll put your, recommendations out there and get you a nice little letter stamped from Renee Montgomery Foundation and signed, probably personally signed from her if you want it to be. So that's something we're going to put out there. I'm actually extended out to Renee, so I'm pretty sure she'll be happy to do it. So don't worry about it. We'll take care of you. Okay. And the last thing is just for actually coming and being a part of this today, we're going to give all you girls tablets. There should be there sometime next week with some really nice swag bags with some stuff in them as well. So you're going to get an Amazon tablet just for participating in this, and we want you to practice everything that Mr. Formanek told us today when we give you these tablets. We want to make sure that you are safe, but we also want to give you access to be able to do anything you need to do. If you need to go to school on these things, if you need to go to the library and go to school or do whatever you want to do, you have access to applying to anything you need. This is going to help you do that. So we want to make sure that you have those in hand for any type of future ventures that you're going to do privately, or if you start your own business entrepreneurially. So we want to make sure that you are well equipped for the future. So that is all I have. I want to thank you girls for showing up, for showing out, for being lit, for participating, and hopefully we'll do something, again in the future. We're looking at some other ventures we want to do with you girls and help you girls out, or do anything that you need us to do, and be volunteers to make sure that you are, that you be your best you, your best authentic you. So do you have any questions for us? No questions? All right. I think you put most of them in the chat, but if you had any questions, this is the time. Like I said, don't feel shy. Send it over. If you have any questions or concerns, we'll try to get you through anything you need to get through. So I think that's it. I don't think, does anybody else from the Renee Montgomery Foundation have anything to say? Joe, again, thank you again. I think I'm opening up to anybody else. Has anything else to say? Well, I know it's a Saturday afternoon. I know you girls probably want to get out, have some fun. So we're not going to hold you any longer, but thank you. And y'all have a wonderful and blessed day. Hope to hear from you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, girls. Bye, everyone.
Be safe online.
Yes.